guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Courtney. Let's get into some patriotic DIYs. Alright, let's get into these patriotic DIYs. I gathered up some of my favorites that I have made through the years, and today I'm starting with one that I made the other day. And for this one, you're going to start with a canvas from Dollar Tree. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go ahead and break this down and separate the canvas from the frame. The next thing I'm going to do is on these canvases, there are kind of, I guess, holes in the corners, and you can leave it if you'd like to, but I do typically like to fill those in. So I'm just going to grab some of the Dollar Tree spackling, which, believe it or not, you can paint and stain. I've never had an issue with it. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in these cracks and then let this dry overnight. Once the spackling is all dry, I'm going to just take some sandpaper and go ahead and give it a good sanding. And then taking some brown wax, I'm going to go ahead and paint the frame all over. Once the frame was all dry, I'm going to go ahead and take my staple gun. This is from Surebonder. If you're looking for a good staple gun, definitely check this one out. I love it. It is fabulous. And I'm just going to go around and staple this on, just kind of going opposite. So, you know, staple one side, then flip it to the opposite side. I'm just going to continue to do that until it's secure. And then I'll go ahead and trim off any extra canvas that's on the back. Now we are ready to go ahead and work on our flag. So you're going to need 4 things for the flag. I picked up some of this white, I don't know what the technical name for it is. Ticking? I don't think it's ticking. But anyway, squiggly stuff. It's in the ribbon section at Hobby Lobby in white. And then I also picked up red. They have different thicknesses, but I did pick up the thin one. And then I also picked up some bluish fabric that I really liked in their kind of like everyday wall section that's always 30% off. And I'm going to start working with the blue section of the flag. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of eyeball the size that I want the blue section to be. And I'm going to use my pinky shears just to kind of give it a little something extra instead of just having straight edges around the square. Once the blue section of the flag was all figured out, I started working on the stripes, and so I just kind of laid it down, figured out where I wanted to trim it, and then I just used one kind of as a guide to trim the rest. And I'm just working with the small section first, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the long stripes and get those cut. And then to attach all these, I'm going to just use some hot glue. I found that when I went in to attach this, it kind of helped to turn the picture vertical, so I can kind of make sure my lines were straight instead of looking at the flag, you know, dead on. You just turn it, and it really did help kind of make sure you kind of got them straight. But again, this is kind of a whimsical flag, so I wasn't going for perfection. The last step for this sign is to take these buttons that I found at Hobby Lobby. They're super tiny little white buttons that actually came in a 50 pack, which is perfect. And I did actually take the time to go ahead and just lay them all out to make sure that was the look I wanted, and also just to check to make sure there were actually 50, and there were actually 51 in the bag, so that was just like a little bonus. And then to glue these down, I started by thinking I would put some hot glue on the button, And then I realized this is going to end badly. I'm going to end up with really burned fingers. So the easier approach is just to go ahead and put the glue down on the fabric, smush the buttons down, and then you are good to go. For this Patriotic DIY, you're going to need a Dollar Tree votive holder as well as some Dollar Tree Patriotic straws. Both of these came from Dollar Tree. And what you're going to do is you want to cut these straws down to the size that they can go ahead and wrap all the way around the votive holder. Now, it's not exactly in half. It's actually a little bit more than that. And I'm just going to go through and cut those. And one package of straws will cover the entire votive holder except for one small section. So your options there are either to kind of piece together, which you'll have to use 2 pieces of your extra pieces that you cut off, or just get another package of straws. I opted, because I picked up several packages of straws, just to use a whole nother straw. And I'm just going to attach these to the votive holder with some hot glue. Now that all the straws are attached to the votive holder, I am just going to take some of this white rope from Dollar Tree, and I kind of measured out the top so I knew how much to cut off, and then I'm just securing where I cut it with some hot glue so that it doesn't come frayed, and then I'm just going to hot glue this directly to the tops of the straws. Now, you certainly could leave these votive holders like this and just put a candle down inside and be done with it, or you could flip them over. And what I did is I just took another piece of the rope and I went ahead and just taped it off, and I'm putting a candle on top and just kind of loosely putting that rope where the candle is, and now I've made candle holders. So these can go either way, and the reason I didn't glue the rope to the bottom is because if I use it as a votive holder, then it won't really sit super flat against the surface that it's on. And that's it. This little book right here was just a quick little Dollar Tree DIY that I just painted the book and stamped the letters on, and that's it. Now, moving into this one, I picked up 2 of these Dollar Tree jars, and the first step here is to go ahead and tape off this red jar. I'm going to remove these little handles, which were easy to snap off, and I'm just going to use some washi tape, and this is where I'm going to paint my white stripes. Once this jar is all nice and dry, I'm going to go ahead and just peel off my washi tape. I did have a couple areas where I needed to just kind of touch it up just a little bit, but it was not too bad. And then I went ahead and just reattached the little silver handle to the top, and then this little votive handle or candle holder was ready to go. Now, I picked up a package of these wooden stars. They came from Hobby Lobby in this package, and I'm going to go ahead and paint these white. These are going to be attached to my blue candle holder, and I kind of at first thought I was only going to do a couple, and so I kind of played around with the design where I just set 3 down, but I didn't really like how that looked. So what I ended up doing was taking some twine, and I went ahead and wrapped the blue jar with twine, and then I just attached my white stars with hot glue all around the twine. Next Dollar Tree DIY, you need to pick up one of these little chalkboard signs, and your first step is to go ahead and take some painter's tape and just tape off the chalkboard portion, because I am going to be staining the frame. And the reason why I'm doing this is actually going to be able to be a 2-sided sign. So if you do have some type of patriotic party or something, you can set this on the table, and one side will have something patriotic, and then of course the other side is the chalkboard side. So you could write the menu, you could write, you know, Happy 4th of July, Happy Memorial Day, whatever you want. Now this free printable I found on Pinterest. I will link it down below. I did go ahead and size it so that you can just go ahead and cut this out and be done with it. And I'm just going to cut it out. As you can tell, it printed exactly like this. And I'm just going to attach it to the back of the chalkboard sign with some of my Gorilla Glue adhesive spray. And then that's it. This DIY is all finished. For this Dollar Tree DIY, you're going to need to pick up a 2-pack of these posters. Now here you're going to see one of them's already kind of set up. This is what they look like when you get the 2-pack. You get a Declaration of Independence and you get a Bill of Rights. Now, what I did to get the Declaration of Independence looking a little more authentic, which unfortunately I did lose the clip for that, is I just crinkled it with my hands, and then I went in with some brown cream wax, and I just kind of brushed it all over to get that look. So I just wanted you to kind of see the side-by-side comparison. It does make a difference and definitely makes it look more authentic. Then taking a piece of foam board from Dollar Tree, I'm just going to attach this Declaration of Independence to it with some of the Gorilla Glue adhesive spray. Now for the frame, what I'm going to do is I just had some scrap pieces of wood in my garage. I'm just going to use a 1x2 that I cut down. I just measured the length and the width of this, and I went ahead and just stained it with just some of the brown cream wax. I let it dry really, really good, and then to attach it to this, all I used was some of the construction strength hot glue that Surebonder offers. It's a 3-minute dry time, but it is super, super sturdy. And I just directly glued those boards to this to frame it out. And then that's it. This project is all finished. For this one, you just want to go to the toy section at Dollar Tree and grab some bouncy balls, baseballs, whatever round objects you can find at Dollar Tree. And for this, I just wanted to make a variety of patriotic themed decor. And so for some of them, I'm going to wrap them with strips of fabric, and then some of them I'm going to wrap with twine. I found it was easier to go ahead and take the fabric and cut it into strips. All of my fabric came from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just attaching them with some hot glue, and that's it. I'm just wrapping them around, going through until it's nice and covered. And then once the fabric ones were all covered, I just took the twine and I secured it with hot glue and did the same thing. I just wrapped and wrapped and wrapped and wrapped until it was fully wrapped, and that was it. Now I will say this, if you have a lab, do not put these anywhere where your lab can find them. That includes your side tables, your coffee tables, your kitchen table, your really tall shelf that you didn't even know your lab could reach. Yeah. So what can I say about this? Just, keep the balls away from dogs. This DIY, I'm going to be using this thrift sign that I found at Goodwill, and the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and just take off the twine, and then I wanted to cover this in some fabric just to kind of give it a different look. So I wanted to go ahead and first paint it with just one coat of this ivory colored paint because I am going to do a red and white stripe fabric on top, and I didn't want this to show through the, I guess, the cream colored of the fabric. Once that was all dry, I just took the sign and went ahead and traced out the outline on my fabric. And then to attach the fabric, I'm just going to use some of the Gorilla Glue adhesive spray. This red and white fabric came from Hobby Lobby as well as the Blue Star fabric. And then I just cut a little section for the left side of the United States for the stars, attached it with some more of the Gorilla Glue adhesive spray, and then that's it. This little wall hanging is all finished. Now let's go ahead and move into a wood DIY. So for this, you're going to need a 2x4. You're going to cut 4 pieces that measure 3.5 by 3.5 and 2 pieces that measure 3.5 by 7. When you piece this little flag part together, this is how it's going to be pieced together. Now up here at the top, you notice there's a small little gap difference. If that bothers you, then what you're going to want to do is go ahead and trim 2 of the blocks down so that it's flat across. But honestly, it's not going to be noticeable because you are going to be tying some burlap and ribbon around it. So first you want to take one of the square pieces and one of the rectangle pieces, and you're going to paint those red. I'm just using some of the Waverly Crimson Red chalk paint. Once that's done, you're going to take another square piece as well as another rectangle piece, and you're just going to paint those white. That leaves you with 2 blocks left, and guess what? Those are going to be the ones that you paint blue. Now, I have one of these wooden stars. This came from Hobby Lobby in a nice huge pack of stars, and I'm going to go ahead and just paint this star white. After all of the blocks were dry, I grabbed my sanding block and I went ahead and just gave these a light sanding all over the block, especially on the edges of each of the blocks until I got the look that I liked. And then once that was done, I grabbed my white star and I just took some of my brown cream wax and just brushed it all over the star. And then I was ready to start working with my fabric. So Hobby Lobby has tons of patriotic type fabrics that you can choose from. And these are just some of the ones in my stash. So I picked out which ones I wanted to use. And what I ended up doing was I just kind of folded the fabric onto itself, and then I just cut a thick strip, and I didn't make all the strips the same size. It's kind of your preference. If you want them to all just be lined up and tied off, you can, or you can kind of do a more of a layering effect by making each strip a little bit narrower than the one before. And so I just picked a couple different pieces of fabric that I liked, and then I also wanted to work in some burlap. $5 tree wooden rulers is what you are going to need for this neck project, and what's really awesome about it is it is multi-seasonal based on kind of the way I'm going to paint it. So your first step is to go ahead and just peel off all of the little sticky parts of the ruler, and then on these rulers there is one side that is flat and one side that has kind of a raised middle section. And so I'm just going to take some of the Waverly white chalk paint and I'm going to go ahead and just paint that middle section of each ruler. Now it's time to go ahead and start laying our rulers down to make our star. So I started with the left piece, and then the next piece I cover up the hole, and then the next one covers up the hole before it, and you keep doing that until you get to the very end piece. And once you get this end piece on, you're going to go ahead and cover up the hole there on the right hand side of the screen, and then that last piece, it does have a hole at the other end, so that's just going to kind of tuck underneath the very first piece that you laid down. And then I'm just going to use some wood hot glue to go ahead and secure all of these rulers together. Once it's all glued together, I went ahead and decided to just take some twine, and I'm just going to wrap it on the points of the star. Now you could use red, you could use blue, and you could take it off. So this star you could bust out again for Christmas time, which makes it really nice. And then you could do red and green if you wanted to. So lots of options. You could do red, white, and blue of how you do it, because then you could just cut the twine off. So I'm just going to tie the twine on so that way I can remove it if I want to in the future. All right, now I'm going to throw in another wood DIY. So this is a 2x6 that I have cut into 3 equal pieces. So they actually measure 5.5 by 5.5, because if you know, an actual 2x6 is not actually 6 inches in width. And so I went ahead and cut these so that they were equal sizes. And then I did go ahead and give them a light sanding on the edges to kind of take off that sharpness. And then I'm going to go in with some of the Waverly Ivory chalk paint and go ahead and give them 2 good coats of the paint. Once those were painted and were drying, I also had 3 of these little wooden plaques, and I got these from Hobby Lobby in the wood aisle section, and I'm going to go paint them also with some of the Waverly Ivory chalk paint. Now I've grabbed some fabric, all of it came from Hobby Lobby, and I wanted to cut some squares to put in the center of these blocks. So these are the fabric squares are gonna measure 4.5 by 4.5. Once I get all 3 of those cut, I'm just going to attach them to the center of each of these blocks using some Mod Podge. Now that the blocks are all dry and the fabric is on them, I took these 3 little wooden planks and I went ahead and brushed around the edges with some brown wax. Once that was finished, I took a piece of burlap ribbon and I went ahead and measured at 5.5 inches, and then I frayed it all the way to where it kind of aligned up with the square, as you can see, the fabric square. And then I attached those burlap ribbon pieces with some Mod Podge. I also took some more of those little wooden stars that came from Hobby Lobby and I brushed them with some of the brown wax. And then I used the wood hot glue to attach these stars to the very top of each of these 3 little wooden planks. Now I'm ready to go ahead and stencil on my letters. So these came from Hobby Lobby in a pack, and they are kind of like the Chalk Couture where they have that thin screen mesh in the stencil, and they're kind of sticky and they're reusable and you can wash them. And so I went ahead and set these down, and then I'm just gonna do all of my letters with the silver lining Waverly chalk paint. Quick tip, I remember when I was working with these that you want to rinse them under the water as quickly as possible, because if you let it sit in there a while, it's a little bit tricky to get all the paint out of it. I mean, eventually you can, it's just a little trickier. I still have these stencils and have used them several times, and they still work pretty well. They do lose their sticky over time, but I think I did this DIY 2 years ago, and I still am using the stencils. I just kind of have to tape them down a little bit in the spots that I want them to go. But anyway, just use these, and I'm just going to peel those back. And then once that was done, I just needed to glue these on to my blocks. And then once these little things were glued down, I did go ahead and use some super glue or DAP. Actually, this is a Star Bond glue, so it's an equivalent to super glue. And glued those down. And then I went ahead and tied a little twine bow and added in some red and blue twine as well, just to spruce it up a little bit. Now we're going to do a Dollar Tree version of that wooden block sign I did a little earlier. You're going to end up needing a total of 96 tower blocks. So for this flag, the blue and white star section, you're going to end up needing 15 blocks. Now I wanted to show you, you can also do this project perhaps with dice. You could put the dice here in the blue and white section if you'd rather do that. It subs in really nice in that space. And then of course for the red and white part, you're going to need a total of 81, so that gives you 96. Now to attach these blocks together, I went ahead and decided to use some of this Star Bond glue. You could use hot glue if you wanted to, but I didn't want to risk any bulk, and I really wanted these blocks to sit firmly against each other. So it is just a matter of gluing all of these pieces together. This is a great DIY to sit there and do in front of the TV or a movie. A little tip when working with super glue, grab yourself one of those Dollar Tree cutting mats, put that underneath it, so that just kind of helps you not get it places that you don't want it, and it's easier to pry off than if you were working on a piece of paper. So I'm just going to go through and do that. If you're wondering what this that spray is, it's a quick release spray that you can put down before you put your super glue on, and it makes it hold like that, like literally instantly, bam, it's done. So as you can see, I went back on the first one and did it, sprayed it, put that on there, and ta-da, they stuck together. Now I'm ready to go ahead and paint. So this right here actually was a little bit of an oopsie when I made this project. So I painted the blue section blue first, and you don't want to do that. Unless you want to try to hand paint all of your stars, don't do this. You actually want to paint your blue section white. Okay, follow me here for a second. And then of course I did the red and white stripes. Now the reason that you want to paint it white is then you can go in, and I just used some of the little star stickers that, you know, the teachers used to give us. I don't even know if they still put stickers on papers anymore, but back when I was in school, these little star stickers were like all the rave. And anyway, you're going to put those down on your little white section, and then paint over that with the blue, and then peel those stars off. So that will give you your white stars in the blue section. I did have to do a little bit of cleaning up with the stars using a toothpick. Now, if you wanted to try to avoid that, put your stickers down, do a coat of Mod Podge, let it dry a little bit, and then paint over the blue, and that should hopefully help not have any bleeding issues. Then I took some of the ivory Waverly chalk paint, because that's what I use, but if you want to use white, that's fine, and I brushed it all over the red parts of the flag. And then I also took some of the brown wax and brushed that all over the flag as well. And then my last step was to go ahead and take a piece of burlap ribbon that I frayed, and then I just tied it up. I added a little bit of raffia with it, and there you go, a Dollar Tree version of a wooden flag. Now, this would be a really easy, fun project to do for a craft night or with friends. So for this project, you're going to need one of the Dollar Tree houses. And the first step, obviously, as you can tell here, is I popped off the back. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a shiplap kind of vibe on this. So I'm going to go in with my utility knife, and I'm going to go ahead and score these 1 inches, making them 1 inch wide, and use that utility knife until I get in there and kind of make a little bit of a dent. And then once I get that all scored up, I'm going to take some Waverly white chalk paint and paint over it, and then go ahead and go back in and kind of clean up a little bit where I made those crevices. Once that was all cleaned up, I just took my sanding block and gave it a quick light sanding, and then I'm just going to use some of my Star Bond adhesive to get it secured back into the house frame. And now I'm ready to work on the piece that's going to go in the center. This is where it's going to be multi-seasonal and you can change out. So I've just got one of these wooden stars from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to paint it red and white and then a tie-on, or not tie-on, but make a little blue twine bow that I'm going to hot glue in the center. And then on the house, I'm going to put a small piece of Velcro, and then each of my little pieces that I'll change out with the seasons will also have a piece of Velcro. And this is just a great little piece that you could put on your desk, on a counter, on your shelf, in a cubicle, wherever. And it can just change and be fun for all the different seasons. For this Dollar Tree DIY, you're going to start with one of their white plates, and then you want to pick up some of their patriotic themed napkins. Now, they had these two different patterned checkered napkins. They had this one and then kind of a smaller, and it's up to you, or you can find they typically have a lot of fun themed napkins, so whatever you want to use. And I'm going to go ahead and start by attaching my napkin with some Mod Podge. Now, these are 2-ply, meaning they come in 2 sheets. So I'm going to first put some Mod Podge on my plate. I'm going to stick my napkin down. I was kind of just doing an experiment to see if it would grab hold of both of the pieces of napkin, and it didn't. So essentially, just go ahead and separate your napkin, put the first ply down. Then you're going to need another coat of Mod Podge, and then put the second ply down. And then I let that dry before I started working on the edges and how to clean those up. So for the edges, I just put some Mod Podge kind of on the underneath side of the rim of the plate, and then just pressed my napkin onto it. And then I ended up flipping it over, and I let it dry, and then I flipped it over and I just kind of ripped off all the extra and then just cleaned it up, all the little pieces that were left, and just kind of Mod Podged them. You can't notice it because I leaned it up against, you know, a wall, so it's not very noticeable, but that's just kind of how I found the easiest way to get that napkin ripped off. I did go ahead and kind of sand it a little bit as well. And then all I did was I went ahead and just made a quick little garland to kind of hang in the center of the plate. So I attached a piece of Velcro to the center of the plate, and then I took another one of those wooden stars and a piece of twine, as well as some patriotic ribbon, and I just tied it all up. And I mean, you could do anything. You could do a little star garland, you could do I mean, really anything you want, and then it just kind of hangs across the plate, and there you go. You've got yourself a cute little patriotic plate to display. For this last Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to be making over one of their bamboo cutting boards. Now for this, I'm going to start with my ruler, and I want to, as evenly as possible, space little dots around the edge. I want to end up having 10 little dots going all the way around the edge of this bamboo cutting board. Once the dots were all in place, I just took my little Dremel tool, which I've used before, with the small little bit on it, and drilled the holes where the dots were, and then gave them each a very light sanding to go ahead and smooth those out. Then taking some of the Crimson Red Waverly chalk paint, I went ahead and painted this side of the board. Now you may have caught a glimpse of the back of it. This is actually a double-sided board, and I will show you what I did with the other side. It's not necessarily patriotic theme, but I did do something with the back. Then Then I took one of the wooden blanks from Dollar Tree and I painted it blue. And then I took some wooden stars that I had from Hobby Lobby as well as the wooden letters. Those came from Dollar Tree and I painted all of those white. Then I was ready to go ahead and start attaching everything to my cutting board. So I just used hot glue, and first I went ahead and started by gluing down the blue board, and then I went in and glued down my stars and my letters. Once all of the pieces are attached, then your last step is just to take a strand of the fairy lights from Dollar Tree and go ahead and just push one little bulb up into each of the holes. And then once that's all finished, you've got yourself a really cute little patriotic sign. And like I said, it is reversible. So on the back, I ended up doing kind of a movie concession sign because I felt like, you know, more family movie time in the summer. It might be something fun to put up when we have family movie nights. And of course, if you'd like to see how I displayed all those, here's a picture of my hutch that I have in my kitchen. This is how I displayed my stuff last year. I do always show these pictures on Instagram, so you're welcome to follow me over there if you want more bonus material. And stay tuned for a little something extra here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Bye! All right, there you go. Now stop saying all right. Hello, my name is Courtney, and I do not know what day of the week it is. You know, sometimes you just gotta, you know. Why is Texas so hot? My hair, whatever. Okay, put on makeup, so now I need to shoot like 8 intros because it's gonna be another 2 weeks before I get makeup on. Hey guys, welcome back to Creative on the Cheap. If you are new, please follow me on Instagram and please follow me on Instagram. What? Please follow me on Instagram. If you are new and you like what you see, please follow. Well, you can follow me on Instagram too if you wanna know more of my business. I never know what I'm saying. Start over. I was shocked at how many people liked licorice jelly beans. Okay. I was shocked at how many people liked licorice jelly beans. Why can I not say jelly? All right. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, hit that button and like this video. What? Hit that button and like this video. Hey, hey. Okay, I should make up a jingle. Hit that button and like this video. Hey. Okay, I digress. All right, focus, Courtney, focus. I need to focus on what I'm doing. Okay. Hit that button and like this video. Hey, here's a confession. I'm a native Texan, born and raised. I like In-N-Out Burger better than Whataburger. I was shocked at how many people liked licorice jelly beans. They are my favorite. Jelly beans. I was shocked at how many people liked licorice jelly beans. Those are my favorite. I literally thought pretty much no one else in the world liked them. And I have no one else to do. What am I gonna, I don't even know. What am I saying? I don't know, but now I gotta reshoot it. You know what, do I even need to talk about the licorice jelly beans? I mean, who cares? I don't know. I care though. What am I gonna do now? Aww. That's so cute, Jennifer. Oh, hey, still recording. Yeah, I'm just texting with Jennifer from a little bit of Common Crazy. Yeah. Okay, I need to focus. I'm focusing, I'm focused. I got nothing. That's why I'm just standing here, because I really have absolutely no train of thought in my head right now. Thank you so much for watching, and fill in the blank, everybody. It's like a Mad Lib. You finish this exit. I need to start doing like unique intros. I am not gonna wear costumes like my better half. No, thank you. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Courtney, and this is Creative on the Cheap, where I like to do budget-friendly DIYs and lots of home decor, because I don't like to do a little bit of home decor.